What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Trank. I'm out in the garage on a pretty cold fall winter day here, and I've just gotten started turning. I'm in every way a beginner, but I want to try something new. I've been turning a few pens to kind of get familiar with the tool. Today I'm just going to be turning a handle for my burnisher rod. So I've got a burnisher that I of course use to sharpen my card scrapers. But it's just a rod, and I kind of want to put on a nice little wooden handle. So I'm just going to put this on a spur center and turn on centers, and hopefully get a handle out of this. It might be a disaster, it might turn out great. Let's try it out. Okay, so I hope everybody had a good Christmas and a New Year's. So this is actually the first project I did on my new lathe, pretty much after just turning a few pens. And I needed to turn a handle to fit one of my burnishing rods in for sharpening my card scrapers, so I thought this would be a perfect project to kind of start out. So I started off with just a piece of poplar that I had laying around, and I marked the center and drill out a small hole that's going to be able to, the size to accept the burnishing rod. And at this point, I didn't really know much about mounting things on a lathe, and I still don't know as much as I plan to. But I started out by just turning between centers using a spur center, and I started off by going through the roughing process here to make this piece of stock round. Now, since then, I've learned that it really helps to just use a hand plane to take all those sharp edges at least down to more of a chamfered edge. It really saves a lot of time on the roughing process, because what's about 30 seconds of roughing here is like 5 to 10 minutes of slowly chipping away to get those sharp edges turned on the lathe. So it really does help just to take those edges down with a hand plane, or even run them through a bandsaw if you have them or something like that. I don't have a bandsaw, so I just did them with a hand plane from this point forward. Now I'm using Carbide Tools here. I decided to start learning just using Carbide Tools. That way I can focus more on, proper work holding technique and things like that, as opposed to also having to learn how to sharpen the traditional turning tools, although I do plan to get into turning with traditional tools in the near future. Now, as with a lot of the turning projects I've been doing, I didn't really have a specific plan or approach. So I start out just by putting a few lines, kind of marking where I want to be as far as the base of the handle, the top of the handle, and where I want some of the curvature to be. And what I had in my mind was just a real simple design, mainly just a rounded, filleted portion towards the top, and then otherwise sort of a screwdriver style handle for the rest. So you can see here I'm just turning down a bit of that rounded portion, and I just slowly, gradually increase this curvature until it kind of has the look I was going for. And of course I wanted to leave enough thickness between the hole for the rod and the outside of the handle to make sure there's a lot of, enough wood there for it to be stable. Poplar is pretty chippy stuff. If you've ever worked with poplar, you know that it really has like chippy end grain that comes out. With turning, it's not a huge problem, not as much so as when you're chiseling it or something like that. But here you can see I've already got the profile I want, and so I just start working on parting it. Now I don't actually at this point have a real parting, like a true parting tool. I just have this V carbide tool, so I slowly recess my way in until I get it, thin enough where I can come in with a handsaw to cut it off. If I had a parting tool, I would obviously just part it off at this point, remove the tailstock and part it. But this way worked, and you just want to leave enough such that it doesn't somehow snap or something. And you also have to watch out that this carbide tool doesn't catch as you're working your way in there. That is something I ran into, which you can see here. Some of the base has blown away. I get that off camera. But anyway, I just saw off that end little nub to free up the piece at this point. And then to clean up that nub that was left over from the saw marks, I just bring it to the orbital sander and run it through a few times until it's nice and even, and then I come back with a block, sanding block, and just, again, touch that up a bit, make it look as if it wasn't there. To finish, I just use a little mineral oil. This is actually a food safe oil. I don't know why I used that. I think I was out of tung oil or something. But I just put a bit on there, let it soak for a little while, and then once that's set, if I ever do get it to sit here. Oh, there we go. And I let that soak into the wood for a while, and I just came back and wiped off the excess. Then I just used a bit of medium CA glue to secure the rod in place. And again, it was just a nice friction fit there for the rod. And that was a pretty simple project to turn, but it turned out pretty good. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. I think that this is probably the first woodworking project that I've ever started and finished in about an hour and a half, so it's amazing how quickly you can make things, and it actually turned out to be, I mean, just a great handle. It's just a burnisher, it's nothing crazy, but it's just simple and useful. So now I've got a handle, and I'm excited because I'm excited to keep thinking about what I can turn, and especially for, just quick ideas like this. It's something that you can do in an hour and then you got it. So if you enjoyed this, guys, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit like on this video. Check out my other content. I've got more projects coming, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.